Hi, I'm Terry, one of the Consumer Technology Specialists for Mid-Continent Public Library. And today we are going to look at Google Docs, and we're going to look at some text that we've created, and then we are going to learn how to cut or copy that text at least 3 different ways, and then we are going to paste that text someplace else, and again we're going to learn at least 3 different ways to do that. So, what is copy? Well, let's think about a letter or maybe a memo that you have on one sheet of paper, and you decide that you would like to have a copy of that original. Well, generally you would go to a copier machine and you would place that original on the glass or maybe even an auto feed tray, and then you would go to the button that says go or OK or copy, and you would press that button. When the machine is finished, you will have an original and a copy, 2 sheets of paper. Well, the same idea applies to docs in that you have some text that you want to make a copy of, and you would select that text so that Docs knows what you want to copy, and then you will click to define the location of where that copy needs to go, and then you would paste that copy into the document. For our first example, let's look at our paragraph that's been typed here, and we can see that what has happened is we have a change of a meeting time, and we need to get that word out to all of the members of the club. And as it so happens, I'm going to see them this weekend because we have another activity planned. And so what I want to do is copy this text and then paste it several times down the sheet so that I can use as much of that one sheet as possible. And that way I can save paper, still give everyone their little strip of paper as I cut all this text apart. And it's just a nice way to very quickly give everyone a reminder of what is going to happen for the December program. Well, we're going to first of all select all of our text, and I'm going to take my mouse and just click and drag over all of the text. And when I get to the end of that text, you can even see that I have a blue background. It's just highlighting that shows that I have selected that particular text. Now we're going to this time go up to the menu bar to the second choice, Edit, and click. And then in the second grouping here, our second choice is Copy. Now when we click Copy, you don't really see this, but that copy goes into a place in the memory of the computer that's called the clipboard, and it's going to stay there until we say, all right, here is where I want you to put that copy, and we'll show it that by pasting. So now that we've made our copy, I'm going to click to the end of this text and press enter a couple of times, and you can see that I have an insertion point that shows where that text is going to be inserted. Then we're going to go back up to Edit and click, and Cut and Copy are both grayed out because I've already copied. I have something in the clipboard that needs to be placed someplace. So Docs is smart enough to know that I need to now paste. So we'll click Paste, and now we have that copy. Another way that we might decide to copy this text and place it in our document is to use a right click of our mouse. So let's select the text again, just like we did before. And this time I'm going to rest my mouse over what I've highlighted and do a right click of my mouse. And then when I look at this shortcut menu, the second choice is Copy. So I'll click Copy. Now again, the copy goes into the memory of the computer, into the clipboard. So now I need to come down, and I might even press enter a couple of times. And where I want to paste, I'll just place my mouse right there as well. Do a right click and select Paste. So now I have the original and I have a copy. Now let's look at another way to copy and paste, and this is by far the oldest version of copy paste that we have because it predates even having a mouse on your computer, and that is we can use only the keyboard and keyboard shortcuts. Now to find those keyboard shortcuts, we need to go back up to the menu bar to Edit, and then we can see that cut is Control X, so we'll use that a little bit later. Copy is Control C. Paste is Control V. Well, let me click off of that. And then just as we did before, we're going to click and drag to select all of the text that we have. And then we're going to press Control C. Now I'm going to hold down the Control key, then press the C key on the keyboard and let them both up at the same time. Now you can't really tell that I've done anything, so you just kind of have to know that the copy is now in the clipboard of my computer. To paste, I want to take my mouse though and click down where I have some room where I want to paste. And then remember that when we go to Edit and it says Paste, that's Control V. So it's the same kind of idea where I can hold down the Control key, and while I'm holding it down, press the V key and then let both buttons up at the same time. And there is our copy. So what is cut or move? Well, let's picture an article in the newspaper that you have just fallen in love with and you'd like to share it with people at work or maybe even your family. Either way, you decide that carrying a whole newspaper is kind of a waste of time, so you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut out that article and then take it to work or take it to your family where they can see that article. Now it's no longer in the newspaper. In fact, there's a big hole where it used to be. And so you have cut it from one place and put it in another. The same idea works for the word move, where again, let's say that you're in a location now that maybe it's too small or too cold or too loud, whatever it is, and you decide that you would like to move to a new home. Well, what you would do is pack up everything that is in your current location and you would move everything to that new home and nothing would be in your old location. Well, that same thing is what happens with docs, where you select text that you want to cut or move, and then you pack it all up essentially, and then you move it by pasting to another location, and it is no longer in its original position. Occasionally, once you've typed some text and then you go back after a little while, whether that's in an hour or a day or a week, you look at it and you say, I think this one sentence or this paragraph would be more effective if I moved it so that it's first or last or in a different position. So for example here, maybe we want to say, instead of while we still meet on our regularly scheduled day, what if we want to start that idea with our meeting has moved to 10:30 instead of 9 a.m. So we would select that text and then we can go up to Edit in the menu bar and we can cut it. Now when we cut it, it momentarily disappears, but keep in mind it is in the memory of your machine in the clipboard, and then we would click where we want that to go, which is before the while. We'll go back to Edit and Paste. Now when you do this, you generally need to do a little cleanup and editing, so let's see. We would start with a capital O. Our meeting has been moved to 10:30 instead of our regular time of 9 a.m. And we can press a space bar while we will still meet. Okay, so we need to take off the while and make a capital W. We will still meet on our regularly scheduled day. All right, and it looks like I have a comma there, so we'll take the comma out and put in a period. And now we have rearranged our sentences so we feel like they are more effective. Let's look at another way that we might decide to cut some text and paste it someplace else. So let's use our same example, and we'll just select our meeting has moved to 10:30 instead of 9. And now that I've taken my mouse and clicked and dragged over the whole thing, I'm going to keep my mouse pretty much right there and right click. This brings up a shortcut menu so I can cut. Again, it's a little scary because that cut text goes to the clipboard until we decide where it's going to go. But we can click just in front of the while, and then again we'll do a right click right there and choose paste. Like we did before, we need to do some fixing, so we'll make a capital O there, has been moved to 10:30 instead of regular time. We need to add in a space, but we also then have an incomplete sentence, so let's take out while and delete that lowercase w, put in a capital W, take out the comma after day, place a period instead, and now we have the text that we would like to share with everybody in our group. Now here is another way that we could cut our text and then paste it someplace else. And it's a favorite with a lot of people, especially if they learned how to use a computer before there were even mice, and that is to use the keyboard shortcuts. So let's remind ourselves what cut is. Let's go up to the menu bar to edit, and then we can see cut is Control X and paste is Control V. All right, well, now that we've been reminded, let's do what we've done before. We'll select our meeting has moved to 10:30 instead of 9, and then we'll hold down the Control key, press the X at the same time, let them both up, and it cuts that text. Now we need to take our mouse and click to let Docs know where we want this information to go. And again, we'll use a keyboard shortcut. So I'm going to hold down the Control key, press the V key, let them both up at the same time, and now that is pasted back in. And as we have done before, we need to do some quick editing so that this reads correctly. So let me take out the while there, put in a capital W, and take out that comma, delete, and put in a period instead, and now our text is ready to be copied down the page. So far we have looked at copy or cut and then paste when we've been in the same document. But what happens if you have two documents and the second document is formatted quite differently from the first one that you're copying from? Or what if you have the same document but it's in different sections because it's so large, and the section that you're pasting into is formatted very differently from where you are taking that text? Well, let's look at some examples of what you might be able to do. Before we look at copying or cutting and then pasting from one document to another, let's look at the two documents that we have. Now, the first one is the one we've been working with where we have this little short message, and I've even added in some bold and blue for a couple of the words. If we look at the font here, we can see that it's the default font for Docs, which is Arial and 11 point. Now let's go to our second document, and it's again just kind of a newsletter, but it's a little more information for our club about how we assist the local school. And whoever wrote this document decided that they would make it a little fancy here, and so they've changed the font to Merriweather, although it is still 11 point. Well, maybe we want to put our information and about our club meeting change right here between the second and third paragraphs. So now we've decided what we're going to do. Let's go back to our original. And just as we've done in the past, we're going to select all of that text, and we're going to go to Edit in the menu bar, and then while we could cut, we're going to copy. And that copy goes into the clipboard just as usual. But now we're going to go over to our second document, and we're going to click where we want to paste, and again between the second and third paragraphs, and then let's click Edit and Paste. Now as I scroll down, you can see that it has pasted that text from that first document, our original document, exactly as it looked. So when I look at the font here, it says Arial 11. But if I look at the text that we pasted into, well, when I click it, it's Merriweather. And after our original document pasting, it is also Merriweather. Now you'll notice that it didn't really add any space between those paragraphs, so I would need to go in and do some quick editing to add in the spacing I think we would want to have. But I guess our rule is, as a default, Docs will take the source formatting, the original formatting of that text that we are copying, and it keeps that formatting even when we paste into another document that has different formatting. For our next example, let's consider what happens when you have text, and we'll just use our example text here, but I have changed schedule change to bold and blue. Other than that, it's still the Arial font. And what happens if we want to take this text and copy or cut it and then paste it into our other document, but we would like for this text that we have right now to just fit right in with that second document. And so we would like for the formatting to take on the characteristics of the second document and not keep this formatting as we have it right now. How could we do that? Well, we can click and drag over our text, and then we'll go to Edit and Copy. Then we'll go to our second document, and I've already clicked where I would like for that to go, so now we can go to Edit. But here's the catch. Instead of paste, we're going to paste without that formatting that was in the first document. We want to paste so it takes on the characteristics of this second document. So we will paste without formatting, and there it is. Now we have Merriweather font. We did lose the bold blue for schedule change, but we could easily fix that if we wanted to. But the only thing we need to do is add in some blank lines around that paragraph that we did have, and we have now got a copy of that little bit of text, and it matches the rest of this letter. Now, in our previous example, we found that paste without formatting was a big help. Well, here's another reason you might decide to use it, and that is while we have been using two documents that we know have come from Docs, what happens if you decide to copy and paste from, say, a web page or even web-based email? Or maybe you've even decided to copy or cut from Word or WordPerfect or another word processor, and then you paste into your Docs document. Now, what happens is that as you do that copying or cutting, you are also inadvertently copying hidden code, and especially with web pages, this is an issue. So I have this hidden code I don't even know exists, and as I do some pasting and then working with my document with that hidden code, it can lead to problems with bullets and numbering, page numbers, tables. Maybe you'd want to single space and all of a sudden you start double spacing and have no idea why. it can be attributed to the corruption that might happen to your document when you use a copy and paste from another kind of source that has that hidden code. Well, a way around it is we could go back to copy, and then we could go to edit, and we could paste without formatting. But if you like keyboard shortcuts, you could also use Control-Shift-V. So let's try that. Let's select our text, and we're going to pretend like this is coming from another source of some kind, and then we'll go ahead and do our edit and copy. We'll switch over to our newsletter, and we're even clicked right where we need to have that. Now on my keyboard, I'm going to hold down Control and Shift, and the B I'm going to just press very quickly, and we're going to let all of the 3 keys up at one time, and there we have our copy pasted in. Notice that all of the original formatting is gone, but it has in fact changed so that it matches the existing formatting on this particular document. And then all we need to do is, once again, add in those blank lines around our paragraph so that it all matches the rest of the document. For our last example, we just need to remember that some people really like to use right-click instead of using the menu bar. So let's do a copy and paste. We'll do a right-click, select all of our text in our original document here. With our little short paragraph, we'll do a right-click on top of that, and we can copy. Then when we go to our second document, we again need to right-click where we want to place that information, and notice that here we also have the choice of paste or paste without formatting. So I'm going to go ahead and do this paste without formatting, and we need to again add in some blank space, but this again has copied our original, taken out any formatting that was with that original as we paste it in so that it matches the destination or where it is now going to reside. For more information on Google Docs, be sure to look for our online resources at mymcpl.org/online learning. There you will find such great resources as Universal Class, lynda.com, Who Knew It, and Learning Express Library. Be sure to join us each week for a variety of tech topics. Join us on Facebook at MCPL 360 on Tuesday at 2 or Wednesday and Friday at 1. If you happen to miss our Facebook premiere or you just simply prefer YouTube, be sure to look for our MCPL MO channel, which has our MCPL Consumer Technology Resources playlist.